Good morning, everyone. Welcome to book chat number 5 and happy Saturday. Today, I want to talk about how you take your notes that we talked about in a previous one about what to do with your big book idea and take those notes and all those things that you jotted down and you know you want to include in some way, shape, or form and transform those into your draft manuscript. So you're going to want to think about a number of things, and the order in which you think about them doesn't matter. It's really about what feels comfortable and makes sense for you. But you're going to want to think about organization. Is it going to be a chapter book? Is it a bunch of short stories that you want to have in one big collection? Is it maybe not chapters, but broken up in some other thematic way or whatever it is? So you're going to need to think about that. You also want to think about your voice, your tone. Are you going to use first person, third person, past tense, future tense, present tense, whatever? And any and all of those things, you need to think about that as well. And some of that is going to depend on the type of book it is. For kids' books, I tend to use present tense because it's very simple and A, easier to write, and B, easier to understand. But sometimes past also goes in there, depending on the subject matter or the flow of the story. So you're going to need to think about those things. Young adults, you can be a little more advanced with the type of tone as well as your word choice. You're going to need to think about making sure to be age appropriate. If it's for adults, truth be told, I wish America was more literate than we are, but unfortunately, even if you're writing for adults, you want to keep it typically about newspaper language, which I'm told is written for about fourth graders. Scary. So you can be a little, unless it's if you're not writing fiction, if you're writing some sort of like educational work, then yes, elevate your language. But just bear that in mind, who your audience is and the word choice for that. And then you're also going to want to think about, particularly in the case of books written for kids, although I feel like this comes into play for many things. I know my adult works always have some sort of lesson, but you're going to want to think about a lesson, a moral, and how that is being made clear. You don't want to whack people over the head, but you do need to be clear what the lesson is. And so here's an example. For my book, Amber's Sick Day, the lesson is, one of the lessons, the lesson that I'm trying to convey is that you can remake yourself and that change is not a scary thing. Amber's a tree and she goes through the fall seasons and loses her leaves and comes back renewed, right? We're all familiar with the season change. So at the end, I say, Amber has this revelation and says to her mom, "Oh, Mom, I can change, I can change every year and be whoever I want to be." And her mom's like, "Yes, yeah, that's right." And then I say, "And so can you," right? So it's a little whack over the head, but it's a kid's book, so it's okay. If you're writing for a more advanced audience, you don't want to talk down to them. So you need to be appropriate with that, conveying that message and that lesson as well. So when you consider all of those things and you look at your notes, it will start to make sense of how you want to put them together. Even with poetry, right? My book, Human Stories, as well as the poetry book I'm working on now, in Human Stories, it was sort of thematically organized based on what the poems were about. For the one that I'm working on, Oneness, it's going to be not necessarily broken up, but the flow of the poems sort of tells a story as you read through them. So these are all things you kind of want to think about. And it will start to become clear. This is, okay, so I want to put this piece here and this piece here. If you're still struggling, particularly if you're writing a series and you know it's going to be a series and you want to make sure all the pieces connect, there are several ways you can use to organize this. Agatha Christie, who's one of my most favorite authors of all times, what she used to do was she would put all of her sort of plot points on note cards, and she would move them around until the story made sense but didn't give away the ending until she was ready to give away the ending. J.K. Rowling, lost her name for a second there, she's got this Harry Potter series and they all amazingly connect. Now, I'm not the hugest Harry Potter fan, I freely admit, but I am impressed with her ability to keep the plot and hang it together through 5 massive books. And so I don't know exactly what her writing style is, or her, not style, but process. But again, you want to just make sure that you keep all of those plot points organized. If it's note cards that work for you, if you have some sort of graphical organizer, flow chart, Gantt chart, whatever it is that makes sense for you, do that. Because you do want to make sure that those things stick together and hang together. And then but you would write your first draft. And yes, that may seem hard at first. But remember, you've got all those things you already wrote down. And so really you're just taking those and moving them into the appropriate place in your rough draft and adding whatever connecting language needs to be there. Maybe you need to fill in some details about scenery, or maybe you need to fill in some character development or whatever it is. But like, you've got a lot of the hard stuff done and you're just making it all connect together as you put it together in this manuscript. And at that point, you'll be ready to move on to phase 2, which we will talk about next time. Well, sort of. You'll get it to somebody to edit, proofread, you'll make any changes, etc. And then once you're happy with your final draft, you move on to publishing it. So we're going to talk about both of those things next time. Have an awesome Saturday, and I will see you next week for the 6th book chat. Bye.